Welcome back to CivilNet. My guest here is Daniel Ioannisyan, from the Union of Informed Citizens, and one of the NGOs in Armenia focused on election observation and investigation of voter fraud. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you very much.
You made headlines on April 2 during the parliamentary elections, or before the parliamentary elections, when the Union of Informed Citizens revealed massive involvement of schools and kindergartens in voter fraud and intimidation. Are violations of that scale practiced in local elections as well?
Yes, mostly we can see more or less the same spectrum of violations. In a smaller level, of course, in a smaller area, only in Yerevan, but more or less it's the same. So abuse of administrative resources, electoral bribery, which is quite popular in Armenia, unfortunately, and problems with privacy of voting. Because in any case, if the voter, he promised to vote for someone, if he took a bribe, if he's forced by his boss or whoever, in any case, if the privacy of voting is secured, he can vote for whoever he wants. So that's why the privacy of voting is now very important, and it is being violated. It was massively violated during the parliamentary elections, and it is violated now. Now we are observing the violation of privacy of voting in some other way, particularly so-called helpers or assistants, I don't know how to call them. So very often voters who came to polling station, they say that they can't vote by themselves, they need an assistant, and somebody is going to assist them while voting. So this is kind of a control of how he voted. But this time, this is going to another level. There were polling stations, for example, 9.2 polling station, 9/2 polling station, where assistants or helpers, I don't know how should we call them, arrived sooner than the voters. They arrived at the polling station. They said that their assistants, they should assist the voters that would arrive later. So the voters arrived later. There were precinct commission even sometimes they were not asking voters, do they need an assistant? I mean, the voter should ask for assistant, but sometimes voter was not asking for assistance or for help, and even precinct commission, they were not asking him or her, do you need an assistant or you can vote by yourself? They were just finding from those guys and suggesting that this guy will assist you.
So in these cases, do they target the elderly?
Mostly yes. Mostly yes. Sometimes our voters, our observers, they try to observe, is there any conversation in the booth? I mean, if I'm assisting you as a voter, I should ask you, who do you want to vote? Okay, you can see the ballot paper. I should ask you, who do you want to vote in order to help you to do so? But in many cases, they have seen no conversation, zero conversation. So these sisters or helpers, they were just voting instead of those people. So this is kind of new level of voting privacy violation. And for example, there were polling stations where these assistants were organized by a head of local administration, for example, city center, local district administration. In some cases, even, for example, this guy, head of administration, he announced that nobody should vote without assistant from some particular group of voters, of course. He announced that nobody should vote without assistant. So that's not an assistance. You can't call it assistant. That's a violation. But something new we have observed which we haven't seen during parliamentary elections. Maybe we were watching not so carefully during the parliamentary elections. Maybe it has been, it had to took place, but we haven't observed it. But now we have observed it. We have observed many cases of fake observers. And saying fake observers, I don't mean NGOs that are doing observation without any reports, without nothing, just deploying people to the polling stations. We have seen that before, dozens of thousands observers. But now we found many cases, dozens of cases, where observer who had a badge of observer had a fake badge. I mean, he is not accredited at the Central Election Commission. And any observer should be accredited, and he is not accredited. I mean, this organization is accredited, but this particular person, we couldn't find his name in the list of accredited persons. In any case, we were contacting district commissions or Central Commission to solve this issue. And honestly, I should say that in all these cases, there were just showing these people the door. So they were just pushing them out of the polling station. But there were even NGOs. We couldn't find any real accredited observer from these NGOs. We have checked dozens of observers of this particular NGO, and we couldn't find anyone who is accredited. So it was quite massive. And these guys, they were not just someone. There were representatives of Republican Party. Why am I so sure? Because they were organizing the voters. They were calling the voters. They were checking who voted, who doesn't, in order to call voters to invite them to polling station. In some cases, for example, same person, he had a badge of proxy of Republican Party, but he was not the only one from the Republican Party in this polling station, so, and that's a violation. And he changed his badge, and he changed his badge to the badge of some NGO representatives.
So if the scale is just as massive and there's even an addition of new tactics, does this mean that these elections are just as important? And the leadership thinks that as well?
Any kind of election is very important for Armenian leadership. They are not ready to share power anywhere. Even in Vanadzor, which is the third largest city in Armenia, not here, I'm not talking about even Yerevan, even in Vanadzor, where they lost the elections. They've got just 33%, and other political parties, they joined each other. They created a bloc in order to have to elect the city mayor. But Republican Party was not ready for this kind of revolution in the third city even. And they blocked this election. They made some manipulations. They're blocking now the work of the city council. So they're not ready even for Vanadzor. Of course, they are not ready to share the power in Yerevan.
If anybody counted on the international observers to prevent voter fraud, in this case, there weren't any, or not in the scale that there were in the parliamentary elections. So do we have these efforts at a local level, in an organized level? Are they better? Is there an impact from the internationals that was missing from these elections?
I guess the presence of international observers during the parliamentary elections limited somehow types of violations. Particularly, I'm talking about more brutal violations. In this time, we've got observers who have been beaten already. We didn't have such observers during parliamentary elections. While during parliamentary elections, we had 400 observers. Now we have 130 approximately. And during parliamentary elections, we've got observers in very brutal regions like Gararkunik and so on. Now it's only Yerevan, which should be more or less normal, which was more or less normal during the parliamentary elections, but now the same guys in same polling stations, because we're observing same polling stations, we were observing during April 2 elections in order to compare. So same guys in same polling stations are acting in more brutal way. So and I guess it should be explained by absence of international observers.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you very much.